Okay, hello. So in this tutorial, I will be showing you how to create the Sierpinski triangle in Blender using Python. So when you come into Blender, the first thing you have to do is, first of all, delete everything in the scene, the camera, the lights, and the cube. After deleting, since we'll be using Python, we come to Blender scripting environment, and then we click on new to create a new script. To begin Python in Blender, we first have to import the Blender Python module, which will allow us to interact with Blender's functionality using through Python. And then we have to import bmesh. Bmesh now will allow us to import the Blender module, which provides functions for working with mesh data. And now, since we can work with the mesh data, we will create the mesh, and this is how we are going to do this. So okay, let me first do it. So we'll have mesh, we use the Blender Python module, data, and since we are creating a new mesh, we have to give it a name. And since we are creating a Sierpinski triangle, yes, and after that, now that is our mesh. And then yes, this will create a new mesh data block with the name which we have given, which is the, okay, sorry, error there, yeah. And then we assign it to the variable mesh. After that, we have to create a new object using the mesh data, and we will assign it the variable obj since we are creating a new object. So yeah, tar.objects, and we have to pass in the name of the triangle. Okay, you have to pass in the name correctly, yeah. And then we have to reference the mesh. We assigned the value of the mesh here, yeah. And then we close the brackets, and then we have to link the newly created object to the active collection in the current Blender scene. So currently we only have the mesh and the object, but we have to link it. So to link it, we will pass in the context of the collection, and objects, and link it to the object. Remember, we assigned the object to a variable obj, and then after that we have to set the vertices. Yeah, after that we have to set the vertices of the initial triangle. So each vertex will be represented as a tuple with the coordinates in the 3D space. Remember, in Blender it is a three-dimensional, it has a three-dimensional space. So we will assign using the variable name verts for vertices, and this is how we are going to pass it. For the first vertex, these are the coordinates. Yeah. those are the vertices for the initial triangle, and then we have to initialize the mesh data with the vertices defined in this line. So we initialize the mesh data using mesh dot from okay, from underscore we pass in the vertices using the variable name, and the second argument, these empty braces represent the edges, and we are also going to pass in a third argument which defines one triangular face using the indices of the vertex of the vertices. So we'll have its vertices here, 1, 2, yeah, and that is how we do that. Then we close the brackets, and then we have to do something else. We say mesh equals to bp context. Okay, this will retrieve the mesh data of the active object. Yes, the object we just created, and we'll retrieve the mesh data and assign it to the variable mesh. Okay, and after that, we have to select the mesh. We have yes, we now have to select the mesh. Yes, we have to set the active object in the current view layer into the object we just created. So to do that, this is what you're this is okay, that's not it, there's something else. Active, yes, active, we set it equal to the context of the object. Okay, after that, we have now set the active object to the object we just created. Now we have to switch the object to edit mode to allow the editing of the to allow us to edit the mesh. So to set the we set the mode to edit. After that, we now have a Sierpinski triangle is a triangle that has multiple divisions in one triangle. So to achieve that, we have to subdivide triangle. This is done by in a Sierpinski triangle, the midpoints of the 3 points are joined together. So the midpoint from one edge, you draw a line to the midpoint to the other, then to the midpoint to the bottom line. Then you do that recursively to get several iterations for of the triangle. So one triangle might be divided into several parts. So for this, we are going to use a for loop for I and the value in the for loop will allow us to control the number of subdivisions and separations of, of the mesh. Let's get into it. We use the subdivide function. Yeah, that is what you have to do there. And this subdivides the selected faces of the mesh. Yes, and this line, what it will do, it selects all the elements of the mesh, and by elements we mean vertices, edges, and faces. And what this line will do, will separate the selected elements into loose parts, and by separating them will create smaller triangles within the bigger triangle to achieve a Sierpinski triangle. And then we have to switch the object mode back to object mode to finalize the modification. So to switch, remember we are in edit mode thanks to this line. So oops, dot object set object. Yes, and that is how we create a Sierpinski triangle. Yeah. Okay, I'm getting an error. Line 16. Let me check. Okay, yeah. Let us see if it will work. Okay, I don't know why I'm getting errors. Okay, maybe it's something I forgot to put. It has no length. I don't get it.